Cool. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening. Oh, and I forgot, good morning. Wherever you are in the world, it's really always good to be with you so that we can share our ideas and discuss and disagree and get into a fight and talk about all things leadership. Phoebe, good morning. How are you this morning?
Yeah, good morning, Graham, and good morning, all viewers, listeners, wherever you are. You know, um, it is a fantastic day. Sun is bright, the breeze is cool, and yeah, as exciting as every week we dive into the l- leadership as a topic and see how leadership really look like beyond buzzwords. So excited to be here.
Look, the word leadership has been used, I guess, for centuries, thousands of years. We identified with someone in our culture or our country or the region, even locally, perhaps, as the leader. I must say, when I was growing up, I didn't really know a lot about what a leader was, or they seemed at the time when I was growing up to be an important person, right? Oh, he is a or she is a leader. Wow, what are they doing? Oh, okay. So there's not even right from an early age. There wasn't a lot talked about. I didn't not in my time in regard to what a leader does, and I think that there have been misconceptions developed over the years in regard to what a leader and what leadership, because they're two separate things, right? Leader and leadership, two different things. But I want to just throw this out to you, Phoebe, because I think there's myths, and I'm going to suggest we talk today about exposing the leadership myth. How does that sound, Phoebe? We will expose it for what it is.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to present to or enter our topic. And yeah, to your question, like often in the past, many people have a doubt: are leaders born or are they made? And more importantly, what I see, for example, your question, sometimes people link leadership to hierarchy,
Hmm,
title, or position.
hmm.
But, there are in many ways, I see leadership as, again, this is the phrase I borrow from you, which is like leadership is a relationship, not a rank.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've mentioned this example when you talk about rank. I've mentioned this example before. And so it's back in the 2000s and something, early 2000s, when the then female police commissioner in the state of Victoria in Australia, notice I said female police commissioner. Mind you, we're doing well with police commissioners who are female here. The head of the Australian Federal Police at the moment is a woman. Round of applause, please. This is fantastic. So, this woman, who back in those days was dealing with a woman being a leader and the chief commissioner of police force, she said in a presentation she was giving, she tapped her shoulder where there's usually some recognition or emblemization, if we like, some show of some stars or some bands that indicate rank. And so she tapped this on her shoulder, which indicated she was the chief commissioner. Nobody else gets to wear this at the same time. She tapped her hand there and said, "This does not make me a leader," which is just what you said. Rank does not make you a leader. And that's pretty clear these days. But years ago, if it was an environment or a society where the king was the ruler, well, his son, who took over from him maybe at an early age, may not have had a clue about leadership. And how can we call him the leader? Well, it's not a good idea to be saying you just because you got the job, you're a leader. And you touched on a couple of things about what people think that leadership is. And so let us expose the leadership myth. I think the first myth is that you have to be born to be a leader. And I've made this comment in a couple of little posts around the place. Airline pilots are born as well. Accountants are born. Teachers are born. Guess what? We were born as well. Everybody is born, right? And
Yeah.
and it just because you're born, you could be anything, but you choose to be a leader. It's your choice. If you want to be a leader, put your hand up and start learning and build a relationship. So we talk to people about what they should be doing to build their profile following leadership behaviors. You see, leadership, and I must say, I can remember a presentation I gave in Dubai. It was to a number of HR directors. So that when I was giving to it, most of the people in the program were locals. And this is not a negative comment about locals, not at all. And there was a woman who made this comment when I said, "You're not, everybody's born, and you become a leader. You're not born a leader." And she challenged me, and she disagreed. No, she said, "You've got to be born to that. You're born with the leadership skills." No, I, I think that my mother, bless her soul, would not have ever thought that I could be a leader because I was, in her terms, a shy boy. That is, I was not stepping forward. I was not one to initiate conversations with people. And so she was thinking I was someone who would, he's not a leader, he's a shy boy. And very soon in my mid-20s, a little bit after mid-20s, I was appointed to a fairly senior leadership role in the organization I was with. She couldn't believe this. She couldn't believe that the little baby boy would be a leader responsible for about 60 as a minimum, and sometimes up to 80 people in the group overall. So, and I know that in those days, even at that late 20s, early 30s days, I know I was making an impression as a leader, but did this just come out of the fact that I was born that way? Not at all. You want to be a leader, start today if you haven't already started being a leader. There you go. That's one of the myths about leadership. Don't you agree, Phoebe?
I think you touched on the right perspective here, and highlighted that how ordinary people can do things through leadership. And in that process, you are also highlighting the behaviors which make someone a leader in the process. And this actually brought me some thoughts. How, for example, in South Africa, we have seen Nelson Mandela bringing his perspective, especially to uplift the people who have been marginalized in that society.
Yes.
Similarly, we can see different example in India, where, for example, Mahatma Gandhiji has brought changes in his process. If we come back to United States, we have seen Martin Luther King, how he brought in the change. So these are all ordinary people who through their actions. And again, I understand, behavior is a function of person and environment. And how these environments and the understanding, the learning, help them in that process. And this is an opportunity for all of us to see how we can also be do extraordinary things. And quite often it is the consistency of what we do. The ordinary things repeated continuously over a period of time, leading to extraordinary outcome, which people often see as leadership.
Yeah, I want to That's all really good. And I want to come back to what you were saying about, firstly, Nelson Mandela, then Gandhiji, and then Martin Luther King. I'm going to suggest, just for the point of this discussion, and to make my point very much as I had been so far, that they certainly were not born that way. I'm going to suggest that an issue, a big issue, arose or existed, and each of them had an idea as to how they could make some change. And they, with their passion about the issue that they saw, did things that brought about change.
Yeah.
Leadership's the first step, like as all journeys do. And I'm sure that each of those three gentlemen and thousands of others in the same similar situation are passionate about the issue. They recognize that change should be made for the better. And they then plot how they're going to do it, think how they're going to do it. They'll be listening to others. They might be saying, I just heard this person say that. We all enjoyed what he or she was saying. We connected to that. We want to go and do what he's doing. We are motivated to do it because of what he or she has done or said. So then they take that on as well, because they think if that person can motivate me to do something, by the way they talk and by their actions, if I copy some of those, I reckon I could probably influence people to make change in their lives and to therefore, of course, be motivated. And how am I going to do this? Well, I need to build relationships. Oh, did we say that leadership is a relationship? Yes, it is. And I'm going to have to learn. Oh, really? Do we say leadership, the best leaders are the best learners? Yes, we do. Whereas if we just said this person is born and he's got all these leadership qualities, you could say, well, he doesn't need to learn anything. He was born with all these good things. The little book was tucked into him when he was born, and there it was. You know, I often would say in workshops when we're talking about this that I'm yet to hear of the obstetrician, the gynecologist, the obstetrician, or the midwife who's delivering the baby. And when they deliver it, say, "Oh my gosh, wow, we've got one. We haven't had one for 3 days. We've got a leader." No, they don't. We are not. We're all born. Thank God, we are born. And what we choose to do, we then us individually choose to do, that makes us become leaders. Others look to us for guidance. They look to us for getting out of the big hole that we are in. They look to us for inspiration. They look for us to listen to what they're saying as well and to take all of those comments on board. Leadership, how many times have I got to say this? It's not hard. And maybe it would be hard if it would be hard if you thought, I wasn't born that way. No, I wasn't born that way. Everyone.
I, yeah, I think at this point, I just want to ask our listeners or viewers, what is one moment where you saw someone without a title model leadership? So clearly you can see there is a leadership behavior, and I think I just want to connect it with our core concept, which was shared to us through James Kouzes and Barry Posner, the 5 practices of exemplary leadership at this point. And we always like people who model the way,
Yes.
and quite often modeling the way, it is a small act, and teams see that, and people see the value of that person practicing in the moment, and that is where leadership behaviors are understood, and we all have seen people who model the way, and we like them because of they are modeling, and they are said, as we say, do what you say you will do in that process. So quite often, the first, the first of the 5 practices which we just want to highlight is, as a leader, what are you modeling?
Yeah.
Is that modeling helping others, is that modeling seen from others' angle as a leadership behavior?
Yes. Yes. And this is also about starting small. And we often see when we observe what someone else is doing and we relate to what they are doing, like they listen to us, so I should listen to others. I should model that behavior. And I notice that he or she are living their value. And I like the fact that one of their values is integrity, or one of them is trust. Wow, I want to be doing that. I want to be living those values that up until now I perhaps haven't seen the value of those values. But when I know what result the people like that can get, I want to do it. And these things can be shared with others. The definition that Jim and Barry have, as you mentioned their names, leadership is the art, mind you, it's not a science, it's an art. Leadership is the art of mobilizing others. Mobilizing means moving others, getting people to move, not by cracking the whip, but by what we say and how we relate to them. By mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. So leadership is the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. That's something we all want. We share in this, we all want it. And the leader will motivate us by his or her behavior towards that so that we want to achieve this. Now, coming back to my original statement about being born that way, if someone was born that way, as I think I said, they would feel perhaps that, well, that's the way I am. I don't need to change. I was born like this. I was born to be a leader. And I'm just going to do what I think is the good thing to do. And I'm not going to look at anybody else and observe their behaviors because I was born this way and my mother said I was a leader. No, you're missing out on a whole lot here because leaders always learn. And when leaders always learn, they improve. Leaders ask themselves, as we say, or they should, at the end of each day, what can I do tomorrow to be a better leader than I was today? How can I improve what I'm doing every day? Who can I challenge to be better than they thought they were tomorrow? Who can I do that to? Who can I encourage? Encourage the heart. Who can I encourage that I may not have noticed recently, but I will notice them maybe tomorrow? Who do I need to encourage that I haven't encouraged for a while? Genuinely and meaningfully. Debbie, tell me about some leaders you think that just because they were brought into this world, that they were birthright to be a leader.
This again, this recollect some memories from my work where I have seen, like again, from a hierarchical perspective, they have positional authority, but also they have these leadership behaviors and 5 practices which we have seen when one is modeling the way. And second one, which I just want to highlight, is the inspiring a shared vision, where, the leader sharing stories that connect with us, and that stories help us to see the vision voice, I will say, where he or she want to take us forward. And you can see us in that process, in that stories. Because often, sometimes people see that, okay, inspiration sounds grand, but it really starts with the purpose. And what I have experienced is, it helps to me to see why I am here.
Yeah.
What impact do I want to make in that process? And these are capacities developed over a period of time. And you see, okay, let us work with that person in the process.
Yeah.
And here you see the leadership practices being displayed. That is by inspiring a shared vision, where you see yourself in that process.
I may have mentioned this before, Oh, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So this I may have mentioned before, um, was a situation some years ago where a gentleman who I was working closely with, he was the group CEO of a number of companies in the family. And I said, well, family companies. And I talked to him about his vision. He's going to have his vision, write his vision. So who's in that position, right? He was the leader of that in that position. And he said, when he wrote his vision, he said, "My vision is to provide health, safety, and security to my family." And I said, "Wow, that's really good, but I'm not going to get up in the morning and come and work hard for you if that's your vision." Oh, what? Well, wait, why not? So we talked about the vision that was going to make an impact. And it was a number of years later when, even though I had some contact with him along the way, he sent me a WhatsApp message actually, and he said, "Graham, the companies that I'm running have absolutely globally achieved the vision that I set out with when we talked about this some years ago." And he mentioned the year. So thank you, he said. The vision that I crafted, that I had other people become part of when I wrote this vision, enabling them to feel that they were part of this vision, and together they have achieved globally significant success. That is
Mm.
that is a shared vision that they're all going to be part of. Bibi, tell me more.
No, this is interesting, and at the point which you mentioned, like what, what is the purpose for me in that process is important, especially when you are a leader in an organizational context,
Yeah.
taking down or gathering your team and sharing with them. And another aspect which I just want to highlight, Graham, sometimes as leaders, we come across challenges. And and sometimes these challenges look like in practice as for example, some people see it as a rebellion kind of. How can we tackle that?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think in my case, again, being a learner and a student of the leadership challenge, I see these as practices or situations where we can explore why we are having this reaction from the team. What is there something underneath behind that, and how can we get this information revealed to us? uh, Quite often this also is a challenge where sometimes rebellion is coming from where people don't feel the psychological safety, and they have stress emerging within them.
Yeah.
So sometimes people in positions of power may not see that. So this can be perceived sometimes as as I mentioned, why are everyone against me kind of. But that is something which a leader can change if he understand, she understand the third practice of leadership, challenging the process. So I just want to bring your lens into that.
Yeah. Look, you mentioned about still learning. I've been involved in with the leadership challenge for coming up to 15 years, I think, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning about what works and what doesn't work, and how to develop the elements of the leadership challenge in my relationship with others always. And we know that you mentioned, people don't want to feel that they may have issues with their manager. They need to have psychological safety. They need to be able to have the ability to communicate openly and freely with their manager, and he or she must um, lead that in a way that people feel part of being able to um, express their views and perform at their very best in all sorts of ways, because they're working with a leader that they enjoy working with. They want to be working with him. That's one of the really positive things about effective leadership. people, staff, call them direct reports, want to work with a good leader. They want that. And I know at least one or two examples where the person at a reasonably high level had left the organisation, and because of some issues that they had, and this is what we might call an exemplary leader, and staff members left. And when questioned about this, they said that they did not want to work with another leader other than these people. So what we also have said in the past is that exemplary leaders will be able to leave because they will have developed behaviours in the people who they are leading, so that the people that they are leading know that they can emulate those behaviours, and if the leader goes, they'll still continue with those behaviours. But in these couple of instances that I mentioned, the organisation was so entrenched in a manipulative, micromanaged society structure that they didn't want to be working with anybody else. When we have exemplary leadership, when the leaders have build relationships, encourage dialogue, they're open, they express their vulnerability, all of those things that people can relate to, people want to be there, they want to work hard. So there we go. I just think that the more we focus on exemplary leadership and helping others become exemplary leaderships by the behaviour that they are seeing that we are demonstrating, it's got to be good for everybody. The world will be a better place. And I'm not trying to stretch credibility too far, but it simply would be.
I think that also is an opportunity for our leaders or our listeners and viewers. Like think, am I micromanaging? Am I creating challenges that way to my team? And this is an opportunity to show courage, to show up in the practice as everyday leaders. What way I can move away from micromanaging? What is leading me to be micromanaging? Challenge the process internally for yourself.
Well, we know that one of the reasons why people cling on to micromanagement is their own insecurity. They feel that they must control everything, otherwise the work won't be done properly. But this is not so. The more they try to control people, the less people want to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we've got to be enabling others to act and encouraging people to perform at their best by our behaviours in relation to what they are doing. And the behaviours that we model and that we show to others, they say, this is great. I want more of this. I love this. This is a great place to work. All right. Phoebe,
Yeah.
one wrap up.
And Graham, and this time another myth which I just want to bring in. It is the myth which sometimes people say leaders have all answers, and also linking with what we just mentioned. Again, challenge yourself in this process. Do you have all answers?
No.
But I want to link it to the fourth practice, enabling others to act. What happens if you enable others to act, to find answers, and give that freedom? And here it feels like you are giving the control to the people, and how interesting that will be.
Okay. We have just got to wrap this up now. Phoebe, thank you so much for helping me expose this leadership myth. And we will be back with you together. Everybody who's with us now, next week in the same place, same station. Have a great week ahead. Thank you, Phoebe.
Thank you, Graham, and thank you all leaders, listeners, viewers.